Hey everyone, this is Chris from Katana, and in this video we're going to do a full demo of Katana's MRP and inventory management platform for small, scaling, and medium-sized manufacturing businesses. This video will cover all of Katana's core features and functionalities, as well as give a brief overview of how best to get started with the software so you can successfully adopt it in all of your order fulfillment workflows. Before diving into the demo, a small background about Katana's software platform, who it's aimed for, and how we can help. Katana is primarily designed for small and scaling to medium-sized manufacturing businesses. This includes direct-to-consumer manufacturers, which we specialize in, as well as traditional B2B manufacturers that sell through channels such as distributors, wholesalers, and retailers. We are built for both. If you are a make-to-stock business or a make-to-order business, we also support both workflows in full. So to cover a couple of areas where we are aiming to help, which are the major pain points of a scaling manufacturing business, these would include businesses that are suffering from raw material stockouts, companies that are expanding their product portfolio in a way that makes tracking raw material very difficult. We help businesses that struggle to complete their sales orders on time because they're experiencing inefficiencies in the way they manage their production schedule, or in the cases of general business trends where, let's say, for example, you are a crowd-funded company and you're going to hit the ground running from day one, and you need something that you can use to hit the ground running very quickly. This is how Katana is built. It's designed to help businesses adapt and adopt from a scaling perspective in a period of rapid growth. In addition to that, maybe if you are a manufacturing business that is currently using a comprehensive ERP system that is both expensive and difficult to train on, we also help those companies overcome by leaning out their manufacturing process, since Katana is more purpose-built as opposed to being a big package that you only use 10% of. Perhaps you might be using spreadsheets in your production processes, and those spreadsheets are becoming too big, or there's too many, and they're prone to error. They're full of formulas that get out of sync and have to be constantly updated. Or you're a business manager who just simply doesn't have time to deal with it anymore, so you can't train anybody unless they're Excel experts, which can be expensive. So a lot of different things that businesses struggle with, and this is where we aim to help and drive those companies to maintain a level of flexibility as well as a lean operation as they're growing. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, and let's check out Katana. To get started, we're going to take the angle of this being the very first time you have ever seen Katana's platform. If you sign up for a trial today at katanamrp.com, you'll get 14 days with all features included, and when you log in the very first time, this is exactly what you will see. So on this page, which is your home page, it's actually what we call the sell screen. And the goal here is that even though Katana is an inventory and manufacturing software, everything really starts with your sales orders. Sales orders generate commitment of products either from inventory or manufacturing. Manufacturing commits materials, which you need to generate purchase orders for. So it's all based on the pull mechanism that is from the demand that comes originally from your customers. Our goal with Katana is to allow you to see everything as it relates to your entire order fulfillment process into a single and unified dashboard. So what you'll see is elements here, for example, your customer sales orders. You'll see availabilities related to your sales items. You'll see availabilities related to your raw materials, which is important for customers who we have that are make-to-order manufacturers. We also have production statuses that link directly to your sales orders, and delivery statuses which are related to your order fulfillment process when you're shipping out those orders to your customers. So all of that comes together into the unified dashboard of the sell screen, which is the first place you land inside of your Katana account. Moving forward, I want to talk about specifically the getting started guide that we have. We really want Katana to be an easy to use platform, and also one that's easy to onboard and adopt to. On your very first login, you will have this getting started guide available to guide you through the correct steps to help you with the setup process. We are big proponents of education, so we have plenty of tutorial videos which you can look at to learn more about the different features. The next step would be connecting an e-commerce connection. So if you're a seller on WooCommerce or Shopify, we support those types of integrations. Also with TradeGecko for those who are interested in multi-channel sales. And this allows you to pull in your products from those e-commerce connections as well as feed in live sales orders that are being processed through your website or wholesale portal. We have live accounting connections as well that are available. So this would be the next step for connecting your accounting platforms, which we support for Xero as well as QuickBooks Online. You can then map your sales orders to create invoices, or map your purchase orders to expenses to create bills. So the next step, assuming that you don't have e-commerce connections, is to add your products. We offer the opportunity for you to manually add them into Katana or import them from spreadsheets. The same also goes for materials. During the setup process, once you have all of your items uploaded into Katana, you'll need to create your product recipes or your bill of materials, as well as upload your operations. These can be also imported from spreadsheets. We have really useful templates to support that. And you can also add them manually into the product cards in Katana. You can then start to invite your team members. We will have the option to invite team members for using Katana's platform in general, as well as the ability to invite team members to our shop floor app, which is specifically for your operator level team to do task management when they're completing their manufacturing orders. And lastly, our end goal ultimately is to get you to start making and selling your products. If you need some additional assistance during the onboarding process, you can see our knowledge base here off to the right. You can search any terms that you're curious about or need to learn more on. It's very comprehensive, and there's some really good articles to find information on inside of our knowledge base. As you're navigating throughout the app, we'll have a number of app cues that will pop up that will show you additional information about Katana in general. You can also click on any of these little question marks to see information specifically related to that element inside of the user interface. It's very handy, especially if you're a new business who is being introduced to MRP softwares or inventory and manufacturing management apps. If you're feeling really stumped, not a problem. We do have our customer success team happy to help you. Just go to that bottom right section and click on the chat box, and you can send us a message there if needed. Okay, let's first dive into our settings page, where you can update all of the factory settings for your Katana account. The first section here is the general section where you would define your base currency. Base currency is the currency in which your business operates. It's primarily the currency that you do your costing. You can also specify your default delivery times for sales orders. So what happens is for example, it's set to 14 days. Every sales order we receive, we automatically apply a delivery deadline of 14 days later from the time it is marked as created. Also, the default lead time for purchase orders, anytime you create a purchase order, by default it will branch out to create an expected arrival date of 14 days in advance from the day it's created. Units of measure, we pre-upload a variety of units of measure, primarily metric, but we support custom units of measure. So if you're working with imperial systems such as gallons, feet, inches, whatever it may be, square feet, volumetric type of measurements, we support all of them, including custom ones. So feel free to add any types of units of measure that you use on this page here, and then that will become available by default throughout the rest of the platform. We also support tax rates. On this page, you can specify a large variety of tax rates and then also define your default tax rates for both your sales orders as well as your purchase orders. It's important to create tax rates that are also reflective in your accounting softwares. If you ever decide to integrate with an accounting platform, you will actually map those tax rates into your accounting platform as well. It helps with the creation of invoices as well as the creation of bills whenever you are using those features from our integrations for accounting. We support categories as well for both materials and products, so every category you add into this list will become available to add to a product or material card. Standardized operations lists. Here you can predefine your operations that are available for your manufacturing processes. And also resources. Resources can be either, let's say, a department, it can be an individual person, it could be a position, it can be a workstation. It depends a lot on whether or not your business is primarily labor focused or workstation focused in terms of manufacturing. You can also define a default cost per hour, which will automatically create the anticipated operation cost for that manufacturing order whenever a specific resource is assigned to that operation. Now locations. Locations is an element for a lot of businesses that are especially growing. You might have locations where you are doing sales and warehouse order fulfillment. You could have a situation where you have 2 or 3 manufacturing sites, as well as you have the option to receive purchase orders at a variety of locations. This can be provided to give you the flexibility that you need to manage multiple channels within your business. You can specify your default sales location. So for example, every sales order that would come in to Katana will by default apply to this specific location. You can also apply your default manufacturing location for each time you generate a manufacturing order, and also your default purchases location. So in the case of issuing a PO to your suppliers, by default, this will be the location that those items are going to be received at. You can also add multiple locations too, and then specify for those multiple locations what kind of functionalities they will have by checking on or off the sell, make, and buy options. We can touch base a little bit more detail related to that as we start getting into the sales order screen, manufacturing order screen, to allow you tally and navigate between those different locations in terms of sales orders, manufacturing orders, and stock. From our integrations page, we have a lot of videos that cover these in more detail, but to give a brief overview, we have Shopify and WooCommerce. What these 2 integrations allow you to do is, number 1, import all of your products. Number 2, import live sales orders. Number 3, enable you to manage your order fulfillment sync. So it gives you the option to complete the fulfillment process of those sales orders either from your e-commerce platform or from Katana. In an example like this with Shopify, if you receive a sales order that is currently unfulfilled, the moment you mark it as fulfilled on Shopify side, it will also complete the order on Katana's side, thus causing the reduction of inventory. So those 2 are synced. And the 4th main function that we offer when it comes to the e-commerce integrations is the ability to sync your stock using Katana as the main source of truth. You can then take your live inventory value of what you actually have on hand, push it back into your Shopify or WooCommerce site to help prevent overselling. It also enables you to update your stock based on your manufacturing orders. So when you complete a manufacturing order for a specific product, it increases on your e-commerce website. We support point of sale for Shopify, for example, and we also do multi-location mapping and multi-store support for both Shopify and WooCommerce, giving you the extended flexibility to put in multi-channel sales directly into your Katana sales order list. For QuickBooks and Xero, these 2 work exactly the same way as well. Essentially, you can connect your QuickBooks or Xero account directly to Katana. At first connection, it enables you to import all of your customers and suppliers, and then you can map your sales orders directly to a revenue account, and then create invoices natively in Katana and push it directly to QuickBooks or Xero. Also, when it comes to your purchase orders, you can map those directly to an expense account and create bills directly from Katana straight into QuickBooks or Xero as well. Both very handy integrations. We've got some great videos on those that you're welcome to check out from our knowledge base and go into more detail as it relates to those. The data import page is very handy. We offer the opportunity for you to add products and materials, recipes, operations, all from dedicated templates when you're first uploading data into Katana. In addition to that, if you have existing products and materials in the system, you can download your existing data, update it as required in case you're like changing SKUs, for example, or updating your pricing, and then upload it directly back into Katana's platform. In the cases where you're doing stock level updates or reorder point updates, you can download your existing data here as well, do a complete cycle count, and then upload it back into Katana to generate a stock variance report or stock adjustment and have that information update all in one go. And if you're using the integrations, the advantage here is it automatically updates all of the stock on your websites too. And lastly, as you're playing around with everything, maybe you're just testing it for the get-go, or if needed, you can also clear out all of the data from this clear data option. And that's a general overview of our settings page. The next location I'd like to talk about in Katana is our items page. So our items page is a full portfolio of all of your products and all of your materials. We specifically break it down by products and materials, which both have slightly different characteristics. If we are talking about materials, materials are items that you buy from a supplier and you consume them in a manufacturing process, whereas products are items that you manufacture and they consume materials. The other unique thing about products, though, is they can also be used as sub-assemblies. So semi-finished product, for example, can be used as an ingredient for a finished product. This is an element that we also support in Katana's platform. So on the materials list, you'll see an overview of all of the materials that you have uploaded, either from a spreadsheet or manually entered, including their category, a default supplier, which you can specify. This helps with the auto aggregation of purchase orders, which we'll get to when we cover POs. And in addition to that, we have default purchase price, which is automatically added as a purchase price to a PO when you make a PO for that item. So let's take a closer look at some of these materials, and by opening up a material card. Material card has a number of components inside of it. Material name, its category, which you can specify to help you if you have thousands of materials in your inventory items list, then you can help segregate them by defining a category. Their unit of measure in which they're tracked by, default supplier, as well as the option which we supply for materials is the ability to purchase it in a different unit of measure. So an example of this might be, we might make out all of our recipes of products in liters for the paint material, but when we buy that paint material from our supplier, we might purchase it in 1 gallon jugs rather than 1 liter jugs. So when you generate a purchase order for that material, you can find a different unit of measure, such as 1 gallon, and then define a unit conversion rate of 3.8 liters. So an example of this will automatically convert the cost of that from $20 per gallon into $5.26 US per liter whenever you purchase that specific material from your supplier. It helps you create a PO that is related to the supplier's rate, and then convert it at the correct cost amount in your Katana account, and also how it's consumed based on the recipe or bill of materials you use in your manufacturing process. In addition to the material card, we support something called variants. A variant is actually a variable that's related to the paint. For example, if we were to open this up and just kind of identify what is a material variant, you can specify an option, in this case a color, which is a variant of the paint, and then pick among the different colors, and you can add them and remove them from this list as required. That information will then populate down here below, and then you can specify a variant code or an SKU specific to that item, the default purchase price for that specific variant, and its default converted price if you're operating on a unit conversion, and then also you'll see your in-stock quantities here on the material card as well. Moving over to products, though, which is a bit more complicated. Products page on the items list actually is a full overview of every single variant product you have, their variant code, a category which is specific to those products, default sales price. So the default sales price is automatically added to any sales order that you create in Katana's platform. A lot of our customers who are doing direct to consumer sales through e-commerce will have their retail sales price listed on their website, and will list their wholesale prices here inside of this section. So what Katana is doing is, based on the cost of materials and operations for those particular products, it helps you project what is the actual cost of that product if you were to manufacture it today, and help you keep an eye on what kind of profits you're making whenever you need to look up your margins. So you might come across a scenario where you see that the margin on one of your products is considerably lower than it should be, and you can open up the product itself to identify, okay, what seems to be the case related to my materials and operations, in order for me to make changes in my production or the material I'm buying to help improve the margins that I have. You can also see the production time based on the bill of materials you have specified and the operations in that particular product. So let's go inside of a product card to kind of see exactly what's going on here. It's a bit more comprehensive than a material card because a lot of things are happening inside of products. It includes your product name and category, and also unit of measure, which is just the same as it would be on a material card, and also our variant configuration, which is also just the same as well. Now within the variant of products, we have our SKUs, default sales price. So you'll notice the difference between a product in Katana and a material in Katana is that the materials don't have a sales price. It's because materials in this case are not something by definition you sell in Katana's platform. An ingredients and operations cost. So here you can get a full overview of how much it costs to make those items from the ingredients perspective, because it uses X amount of wood and X amount of paint at X amount quantity, and that will give you a general cost that's related to that product from the ingredients. We use moving average cost methodology to help calculate the costing for your products. This costing comes from the moving average cost of the material added together to equate to the total ingredients cost for that specific product. And then also the operations costs are automatically calculated from the production operations for those product variants. And then our in-stock quantities, which identifies if we have any available at the moment or not. We've got a couple of interesting things in our product card as well, such as I make this product. This means it's something that you actually manufacture, and therefore you are the supplier of the materials for that product and you make it. Something that you buy, in case you actually not just make a product, you might buy it into and resell it. This is also a case that we support, giving you the option to add the product to a purchase order when you need to buy it in and resell. This is really handy for businesses, for example, in engineering. You might own an engineering firm that designs the actual product itself, but then buys it in from a supplier once your customer has confirmed it. But it's important for you to maintain control over your bill of materials rather than your supplier maintaining control of the bill of materials. And then in addition to that, you can specify the supplier of your choice for that product if necessary. And if also necessary, you can specify a unit conversion for the purchase of that product if you're also buying it in from a supplier, just in the same way as you would with your materials. Katana also does support batch tracking. So if you activate this functionality, it enables you to assign a batch number to the product on a manufacturing order and then keep it in stock under that batch number. And then when you sell it on a sales order, you can specify from exactly what batch you're pulling the products from and then create that traceability link directly to your end customer, thus fulfilling your end-to-end consumer tracking of any products that you get from material level to product level. Katana is here to do with batch tracking to help you do that process in case you have a situation like a recall, or you need to know where the elements or which manufacturing process that product came from. So this is something that we support. In the product recipe as well, the product recipe here allows you to add all of the ingredients for all of the variants that are inside of this variant list. So for example, I have 4 colors of this coffee table, and on my product recipe I'm adding all of the ingredients that make all 4 colors of the coffee table, and then I'm mapping them directly to the finished good in which they're making. So an example of this would be my coffee table, which is made from wood. I use the wood on all variations, so anytime I generate a manufacturing order for that specific product, no matter what variant it is, it's always going to pull 5 meters worth of wood into the ingredients list of the manufacturing order. However, if I have different colors of tables, they of course use different colors of paint. These paints here are from my material list, and I use 1.5 liters for every time I make one of these different colors of tables. So my brown paint would be mapped directly to my brown coffee table instead of the other 3. And so every time I generate a manufacturing order for that specific product variant, it also pools the material for the specific material variant as well. You can add notes to each of these ingredients. This is typically very handy if you're like in an apparel industry or something where it's required to place this material at a specific location of the finished good. It can be used for instructions every time you are receiving a manufacturing order that you need to give more guidance on. That information appears in the manufacturing order itself. And then it also shows over here the stock cost for those individual materials and how much that cost, which is the quantity times its current unit cost, which will give you how much that cost would apply directly toward that specific product variant. Now, if you're doing a lot of uploading of your product recipes and you decide to not do it via a spreadsheet import, you can actually add recipes to your products and then copy them over from other products too. and make little changes as necessary within your different product ranges. You can also delete them from this product card as well. Moving over to the production operations side of things, here you can add all of your operations or add new operations, assign them to a default resource, and then this resource will always be pulled in as the default assignment when a manufacturing order is processed, and the actual task will appear specifically to any users that are assigned to this resource when using the shop floor app, for example. And then they'll be able to perform the operations specifically on that manufacturing order directly from the floor app and well into being updated on the manufacturing queue inside of Katana. Katana, you can also specify the cost per hour for that operation. This cost per hour is automatically pulled in when you specify a resource which has a default cost per hour, and then you can specify the time that's required on that operation to make 1 unit of this specific product. If you need to, you can actually map your operation to a specific product variant. So in case you have a slight variation of your operation steps, you can specify that variation on this page as it applies to the correct variant product. If, for example, I do an extra process such as, let's say for this coffee table, I might do finishing, but I only apply finishing to, let's say, my beige table. So it gives you that level of flexibility in terms of how you can map your operations directly to a dedicated product variant. Also, the same applies up here for copying operations over from another product. So if you have a situation that comes about where you need to copy over those operations because it's quite a standardized process, this is also easily done here if you decide to not opt in for importing them. Katana uses automatic saving, by the way, so if you are making changes live, it will automatically save the changes and you'll take note of it up here. I think a good place to go to next would be our contacts list. Here in Katana, our contacts list is limited to customers and suppliers. Customers being the people you sell to, suppliers being the people you buy from. Very simple, just consists of a name, email address, phone number, or a comment that's related to those specific contacts. When it comes to your e-commerce integration as well as accounting integrations, we pull in your customers. And when it comes to your suppliers, that information is pulled in from your accounting integration only. Now that we've covered some of the basic factory settings, plus products, materials, recipes, and operations, along with your contacts list, the first and most important thing that you need to do after you have uploaded all of your data into Katana's platform, either from your e-commerce integrations and your spreadsheets, or a combination of the two, is to make sure that your stock levels are correct. You can opt to import your stock levels from your e-commerce platforms, as well as on your initial add new products and materials templates. But in case you haven't, we recommend updating stock levels spreadsheet where you download your existing data that's already in the system and then uploading it back in after you do a cycle count. This will then update all of your stock levels to be as they are today, and you can then execute and use Katana moving forward. So let's look at the stock page to get a few more details about exactly what it shows you within Katana's platform. So the stock page is broken down by products and materials, just like how we have in the items lists. Products by default are something that you manufacture. Materials by default are something that you buy. Now in this products list, you will see information such as you see on the items list as well, but we also have here off to the right are all of the numbers, how they're related to those products inside of your stock page. For example, we have average cost, which is actually a calculation of your total value in stock divided by your in-stock quantity to give you how much is each and every product average value at this point in time. We have your total value in stock, which is a culmination of the total costs that have been aggregated to make those products for what you currently have in stock at this point in time. Your in-stock value, which is how much do you have on hand. Your expected quantities. An expected quantity for a product is any time you have an open manufacturing order. It means I'm expecting one product from an existing manufacturing order to arrive to my inventory at some point in the future. This can also create an expected quantity if that product is on an incoming purchase order. Commitments are anytime a product is committed directly into a sales order. So for example, a sales order comes in, it hasn't been fulfilled yet, it creates a +1 on the commitment side, and then it reduces as soon as the sales order's fulfilled, as well as your in-stock quantity gets depleted. And then we also have reorder points, which essentially is the point at which you want to be in your in-stock level when you want to place a new order for that item. Now, reorder points for products would be what is the point in my inventory when I need to start a new manufacturing order. And in the case of materials, a reorder point is at what point in my in-stock inventory do I need to be to place a new purchase order. And Katana also aggregates this information by applying a formula that is your in-stock quantity plus what is expected minus your commitments minus your reorder point will generate what we call a missing or excess value. Anytime your missing value is in the red, it means that your commitments are exceeding what you have in stock or expected. So an example of this would be this dining room table I have here. I've got 3 pieces committed. I've got 3 pieces being committed for my reorder point. I have a total of 6, but I've only got 2 in stock. So 2 plus 0 minus 6 equals a -4, which means in order to get in the black or have an excess amount above 0, I need to make a minimum of 4 units. So Katana is always tracking the number of open sales orders you have to tell you exactly how much of something you need. And anytime you're updating the reorder points, it's also telling you exactly what you need in order to stay on top of these manufactured goods and not actually run out of stock. Anytime you click into any of these values, Katana will open up something called an inventory intel. So the inventory intel is really handy because you can specify and look in a focused view at one specific item and identify all of its previous historical stock movements, all of the manufacturing orders it would be coming in from, or the expected values, all of the sales orders that this specific product is committed to in the future and currently, and also your reorder point and then the total amount that's currently missing from your stock. Katana also, as a side note, supports sub-assemblies. So anytime you have a product that's in this list that is also part of the recipe of another product, it is called a sub-assembly. So you can actually commit product into a manufacturing order of another product, which also gets tallied here inside of this missing excess column. That information can be seen across all locations as well. Material list is exactly the same as the product list, with the only difference being that materials are items that you would buy. And so in Katana's sense, you can actually buy materials in by shortlisting using the filter by typing in a hyphen and identifying exactly what's missing and then selecting the buy option. Also here on the stock screen, we have our stock adjustments tab. So the stock adjustments tab is a repository of all of your historical stock adjustments where, for example, if you are doing a cycle count and you upload your stock update spreadsheet, you can also see that it creates a stock adjustment for you. So this is very simple to use. You can also do it for adding your initial stock values, and essentially, let's say for example, I have coffee table, which is my cognac colored one. I have 0 pieces in stock. I want to put 10 pieces in stock at $342 per piece. Then Katana will add those 10 units at this particular cost per unit, and then give me a total of this value in stock for that specific item. And then when I look at my stock adjustments, you'll see that they appear here on this list. Now also for the inventory locations feature, if you actually activate a secondary location, then what you can do is then also toggle between that location on the stock page, and this will activate stock transfer functionality, which means that you can take a specific item that is coming from one location and transferring it over to a secondary location. So we can send over the coffee tables that we just created and take from the 10 units that we have on hand and transfer 10 over to our secondary location and then lock that transfer in place. All your historical stock transfers will then appear on this list as well. Now that we've covered some of the basics of our stock, let's go ahead and start working with some of our sales orders over on the sell screen. The sell screen, as mentioned earlier, is a full list of your sales orders, and these sales orders are flowing in live from your e-commerce integrations. and automatically committing the products that are inside of them directly to those sales orders from inventory or also from raw materials in the case of a make-to-order business. Another thing we support, aside from direct-to-consumer sales channels, is also B2B sales channels. So with our quotes functionality, you can go inside of Katana, create a basic quote for one of your customers, enter their information here, and specify which shipping location you're going to send product from, enter the item, and how many they're buying, and then this will generate a quotation that is not an active sales order yet. Once you're doing your discussions with your customer, the moment that they confirm the purchase of the item that you're selling, you can confirm it and it will convert it directly into an active and functional sales order here on this page. And it will then commit the product to the sales order, and you'll be able to identify whether or not you have it currently available in stock. So this is how we support both B2B sales channels as well as direct-to-consumer sales channels. Now on the sales order list, you can see all of these different colored blocks here off to the right. Now what Katana is doing is it is telling you, do you currently have, in the case of sales items, enough of those products in stock to fulfill the sales order right now, yes or no? So in the case of a sales order that has items inside of it, it will identify if all of the items are currently available and tell you that they're in stock. If all of the items can't be fulfilled in that sales order, then it will actually begin to book from incoming manufacturing orders here. So those incoming manufacturing orders will have an expected completion time, which will appear in yellow whenever those orders are presently on an open manufacturing order awaiting to be completed. Now in cases where you see the sales item availability as listed not available, this means that you have a situation where all of the products are either been committed to other sales orders, in addition to all of the expected products are being committed to other sales orders, and it's at a position in the sales order queue where it's not able to book anything. So it still creates the commitment, but it identifies that you don't have enough stock and you don't have enough coming in from expected manufacturing orders to fulfill that sales order at this point in time. Now, we do something that allows you to drag and drop your sales orders to book products specifically to other sales orders first based on their rank. So in certain cases, you'll have scenarios where a customer demands that the product is coming sooner, and you have to make quick decisions about how you can accommodate the demands of your customers. So this is something that we help accommodate, especially how your sales orders relate to your product availabilities. So you can drag and drop a sales order higher in the list by going here from the bottom directly to the top, and Katana will rebook available product to that sales order first to give you that on-demand availability on if you can satisfy that customer's request earlier or not. Taking a look here in more general terms, Katana turns the delivery deadline red if it identifies a conflict with your manufacturing and sales order fulfillment requirements. So for example, we have these sales orders, these three, that have a delivery deadline on the 29th and 30th of May. But in this scenario, it's saying that my incoming manufacturing orders are not going to be ready until the 1st of June or the 3rd of June. Now, why this is important is because you have the risk of actually getting these orders out late to your customers. And that's something that you need to have that information available at short distance to make adjustments either in manufacturing, bring in more people, increase your output, or adjust the actual orders in the sales order queue to book them to something that's coming sooner. And that enables you to have that certain level of sales order flexibility when it comes to product level directly tied to your sales order. Now, on the other hand, if you're a manufacturing company that specifically manufactures to order, then we have the ingredients availability status as well. So what typically happens in this case is make-to-order businesses do not track finished goods inventory. So one thing is going to definitely happen when it comes to your product availabilities. Katana will tell you that the products are simply not available. This entire order list for sales item availability will be basically red. So we have a rule built into our platform that says if you have a sales order that has a product inside of it which isn't actually in stock, then what we will do is commit the raw materials specifically to that sales order in order to make sure you have the knowledge in front of you that says, okay, I have enough raw material ingredients available in stock to manufacture the products in the sales order, yes or no. And it tells you in green if you do. It says in yellow if it's actually not available, but it has some incoming on a live purchase order that hasn't arrived yet. And lastly, if it doesn't have any materials that it can book from that are both in stock or expected from a PO, then it will tell you that it's not available. And then this is what drives the missing excess value on your stock page to help you make better purchasing decisions. That's kind of part of how our availability is linked directly to a sales order based on prioritization. Now, when we get into the production status, this is where things get very interesting in terms of how the make to order and make to stock workflows are managed. A unique thing about make to order workflows is, for example, is if you have a sales order, in this case sales order number 7, and I am a make to order business, then what I can do is I can create a make to order workflow specifically for that sales order and push it directly into production. We'll come back to this in a minute, but essentially what I'm doing right now is I'm creating a direct hard link between my sales order level and my manufacturing order level that cannot be broken, meaning that no other sales orders can take the product that's being produced by that specific manufacturing order that is linked to sales order number 7. Now, on the other hand, when it comes to production status, we have a hard link between the sales order and the manufacturing order, but for other products that we carry in stock that are not made to order, then Katana has a dynamic booking, which means that based on the rank of the sales order inside of the sales order queue, we can book products that are coming in a regular manufacturing order or a make to stock order directly to the sales order based on the sales order's rank, especially if they're the same product. So to kind of illustrate this in more detail, I'll briefly show you the manufacturing queue. And the manufacturing queue, in short, is a full list of all of your manufacturing orders. Now in here you can see that sales order number 7 is down here at the bottom. It has the sales order number inside of it, and that sales order number 7 is also on the sales order page as well. And as I change the ranking of a sales order inside of my sales queue, which is directly linked to my manufacturing queue, the sales order 7 also travels up and down the entire manufacturing queue based on the sales order rank. So this is the connectivity that is branching your sales orders to your manufacturing level. As your sales order demand changes, so does the demand that's taking place inside of your manufacturing queue also changes. This also affects exactly what tasks are to be performed first in the manufacturing process in the task list on the make page. We'll talk more about this subject here soon, but we'll get to that in a moment. To finish out here on the sales order page, we have also the last section of the delivery status. So Katana does two types of delivery statuses. It has packed and delivered. For example, if you have something that's currently in stock, that means I can safely fulfill this sales order right now, and I can flag it for being packed, which will remove it from inventory, and then I can also simply mark it as delivered to remove it from inventory to show that it has been sent out. Now, if you're doing sales order fulfillment from multiple locations, you can actually toggle between those two locations or multiple locations from this list here to identify, okay, these are the sales orders that I'm shipping from X location. And the booking engine works in the exact same way as it's dependent upon the locations where those commitments are generated. If you need to, you can also bulk select your orders using our bulk select options. You can either make to order multiple sales orders. You could also mark multiple sales orders as delivered. You can edit the shipping location. This is something that will enable you to change the commitments at different places. And also, if needed, you can then go inside of your sales orders and look at more detailed information. So inside of a sales order, you can see all of your products that are here on a line-by-line basis, and also take a closer look exactly what is the inventory situation related to each of those items. If you have a sales order that has multiple line items inside of it, then the one line item that has the weakest link, whether or not it is expected or not available, will affect the entirety of the sales order. And that way you'll have the information live in front of you here about what is the status of the entire sales order, and then you go inside of it to identify what specific item is causing it to be in this particular status. Now, in addition to that, once you've completed some sales orders, you have your done sales order list, which appears here inside of the done tab. Done sales orders are actually all of your sales orders that have been shipped out, which means the inventory has been removed. At the moment when a item is removed from inventory on a sales order, its initial moving average cost of the product is passed on to the cost of goods sold. So this cost of goods sold will then be applied to the total amount that has been paid, minus your tax will give you an overall profit related to those sales orders. Now, through time, you can actually specify any custom date ranges to identify how much sales you did across all of your sales orders and identify your total cost of goods sold where required. You can export that list, and it actually breaks down all of your sales orders by line item. So if you need to use a VLOOKUP to analyze what is your velocity of sales against different types of products, then that information is available from inside of there. That about covers the basics for the sales order list page. So let's go ahead and go check out our manufacturing queue to see what features and functions we have available there as well. So here on the make screen, we have a full overview of all of your manufacturing orders. This includes your manufacturing order numbers, the customers that are tied directly to make to orders, your product, the quantity to be made in the manufacturing order, as well as the production time, with the production deadline and the availability of ingredients to start the manufacturing process for those specific orders, and the production status. This page works exactly the same way as your sales order ranking does, but in this case it specifically books raw materials or sub-assemblies to your manufacturing orders as opposed to products and raw materials to your sales orders. So in this queue, each manufacturing order is a single product, and you can drag and drop them in the exact same manner and have it book your materials differently. A good example of this would be, for example, we have, let's say, this beige dining room table, which is in this part of the list for 1 unit, which currently has its materials in stock, so we can actually start production on it right now. But we've got another one that's further down the list, which is the same product, therefore it uses the same exact materials, with a major difference being that it's currently for 2 pieces and it doesn't have any materials available. So if you have a situation where, for example, this manufacturing order changes its position in the queue to be more important, for example, and to be made before this one, then it will actually rebook the available ingredients directly to it and then update that status. So in the case here, where this one was originally in stock, it's now changed to not available, and then this one, which could have been in stock, is now showing as expected. This means that this manufacturing order for 2 pieces obviously was going to consume more raw material, but it consumed everything we had in stock, and now it has to begin booking those materials in from an incoming order. So to take a closer look at it, let's go ahead and open up a manufacturing order number 5 and see what's going on the inside. So inside of a manufacturing order, you can see there's a lot of information here. Manufacturing order number, everything you see on the main screen, inclusive of a total cost, a production deadline and creation date, as well as its manufacturing location, where that manufacturing order is being performed. You can change the manufacturing location, and it will actually commit or demand raw materials from that specific location if it is adjusted. Now in the case of this dining table, which is beige, you can see that I've got some ingredients here. It doesn't seem to be a problem with the wood I have, so I have enough wood in stock to manufacture this item, but in the case of the beige paint, clearly something's wrong and we don't quite have enough. So if we need to understand what's happening, we can look at our inventory intel for this manufacturing order and see exactly what's going on here. So currently we've got 4 liters of this paint in stock. We've got 6 liters expected to arrive in an incoming purchase order. We've got 13.5 liters committed to manufacturing, 0 reorder points, and 3.5 liters missing. So this is exactly how much I need to purchase in order to satisfy all of my production requirements. Now these numbers you can see are broken out down below. So I have manufacturing order number 5 currently listed twice because the status is changing here. Right now, manufacturing order 5 is actually committing 8 liters of paint to this specific order, but it will consume the existing 4 liters I have, which are in stock, thus noticing the in-stock status. In addition, it has an extra 4 liters it's requesting. I don't have those in stock, so it's beginning to book it from an incoming purchase order number 5, which has this beige paint inside of the PO. And then the sales order number 2-1, which is a make-to-order manufacturing order, is currently requesting 2 liters from the same incoming PO, and you can see that the 4 plus 2 here is equivalent to the 6 that is expected. And then we've got an additional 2 liters still being requested by the same manufacturing order, plus an additional 1.5 from this manufacturing order further down the list. Now, the things that are happening in this case is you'll notice that manufacturing order number 5 and sales order 2 and MO2, those respectively in the manufacturing order queue are in order. So that's why manufacturing order 5 is getting the materials first, because its position in the overall manufacturing queue is higher than sales order 2 and manufacturing order number 2. So if you take a look here, we should expect to see that MO5 comes before SO2, and then MO2, which is also requesting, is further down the list. So that's how the ranking is booking those raw materials to those manufacturing orders. So if MO2, for example, which is using beige paint as well, becomes more important than MO5, then you see that it's in stock and I can actually start the manufacturing process. So that's in general the way it completely works in terms of the booking system and how it's giving the live on-demand information directly to the manufacturing orders to tell you what you can and cannot do. And also telling you what you need to do. And what I mean by this is, if we're looking at the production deadlines, this is an element in Katana that's also very handy, because you can identify in cases where there's a conflict between an incoming purchase order and the production deadline of a specific manufacturing order. So as soon as you can figure out these and solve those problems within your manufacturing workflows, it gives you that kind of on-demand flexibility to make changes as required. So when it comes to the production deadlines, there's 2 ways to calculate this. Number 1, you can manually add it if you use manual deadlines, or number 2, you can use our configure deadlines functionality. So configure deadlines functionality is a feature in Katana that allows you to apply total throughput of your factory across all of your open manufacturing orders. It's very basic in the sense that it focuses strictly on factory level throughput instead of resource level, but it also helps quite a lot in terms of estimating deadlines to give you some level of understanding of where you're sitting with things. So a good example of how it works is presently the total manufacturing output I have, or throughput, on a weekly basis is 200 hours of operation. Now this is what I'm currently set for, but inside of my manufacturing queue I have 188 hours worth of work. So based on the total amount of work I have and the total throughput I have available, I can easily fit 188 hours within a 200-hour work week. So effectively what Katana is doing is it's calculating the estimated completion time based on my available throughput and my actual work in the queue, and then distributing the total number of hours evenly across my week. So with 200 hours of available throughput, what Katana is actually doing is it's dividing this across a 5-day work week and giving me 40 hours of available production time per day. So in that particular case, that is how in each 40-hour gap which is provided on a daily basis, it will estimate the deadlines that I can complete production orders within that 40-hour period of time. And then if it doesn't fit within the 40-hour period of time, it pushes the deadline to the next day. So that's the basic logic. Now if I have a situation where, let's say, half of my team is out whenever I need to produce these manufacturing orders, it would drop my 200 hours of operational throughput by 50%, which would give me 100 hours of operation. And in this case, it would only distribute 20 hours worth of operations across each day. And when I've got almost 200 hours of manufacturing orders in the pipeline, it's going to actually double my actual deadlines for my orders. So what we should see here is, if you look closely, you'll see that the 5th of June is my last order's completion deadline. If I update this, it will push it out a week later. So we should see this change from the 5th of June, and now it changes to the 12th of June. So that effectively is currently how you can help estimate your deadlines in Katana, and use that feature to match it up against any POs that are expected to arrive within the future, giving you the flexibility to make changes as required within the queue. Now, these manufacturing orders, when they're completed, Katana is actually capturing the completed manufacturing order material costs, subassembly cost, and operations cost to give you a total cost across all of your manufacturing orders over any specified period of time. You can easily take a look at this through any period of time, custom dates, and kind of analyze where your costs are, or maybe use this as a way to kind of identify if there's any problems or deviations within your manufacturing process. You can export that data as well. Katana does support bulk updating too, so if you need that to change the statuses of your production, that's also a possibility to do it from inside of the app. If you're issuing manufacturing orders to your team, you can either use our shop floor app, which allows you to add floor operators that will be performing operations to complete these manufacturing orders and updating this platform in live, or you can actually generate printout orders for your manufacturing, which will include all of the process steps, also pick lists, or you can create consolidated pick lists which your team can use to pull stock from inventory before they start the manufacturing process. Now, going into the tasks page, which is very much related to your shop floor and operations team, this will give a full breakdown of the operations that are assigned in each manufacturing order. So in brief, if we were to take a closer look at a manufacturing order in general, you can see that there's an operations list down below inside of it, and your team members can mark that as started or as completed. And as those updates are taking place, for example, if we have a manufacturing order that hasn't been started yet, the moment they create the starting of the process, it will then change the entire manufacturing order to a work in progress. Now, these task lists will update in real time through the floor app, or if you prefer, you can have your team members come in here and complete those in specific order directly from workstation-based computer. And this can also toggle between your different locations, giving you a full global view of what's happening where, especially in cases where you might be a manufacturer that has more than one site where you perform manufacturing operations, or you're running a team in different locations. If needed, you could print out your task list and generate a PDF of that, or simply export it in case you need to divvy it up somehow within a spreadsheet. So, coming back to the manufacturing orders, one more thing I want to point out is that these ingredients, Katana tells you if they're in stock. So when they're in stock, it means you can safely start a manufacturing order, and when the manufacturing order has been completed, the raw materials are removed from stock and your finished goods increase in stock. These specific items that have an availability of expected or not available, those need to have purchase orders generated for them in order for you to have the materials in stock so you can complete the manufacturing process for those particular items after you have organized your manufacturing queue. Taking that a step further, what will be important to do is take a look at our stock page and identify raw materials that we need to buy so we can satisfy the requirements set forth by our production. So an example of this is we'll go into our materials list, we'll identify the missing elements, so for example anything that's read from the missing excess column, and we will type in a hyphen to shortlist them. Now, something I want to show you that's really handy when it comes to our POs is in cases where you have materials that have the same default supplier, you can select the buy button for any of those materials, and we have a function that says add other missing ingredients from the same supplier to this purchase order. And when you do that, it will auto aggregate the missing quantities and apply them into a single PO, which you can use with your receiving. So if you're using unit conversion, which we set up earlier, it'll actually convert it for you and enable you to pull that information in. So if needed, you can actually go in here and change the quantities as required based on the inputs that you've set for your unit conversion. If we need to mark them as received, we can mark them as received and specify, for example, how much we need to receive from different shipments that come in from our supplier. And then essentially you can receive the amounts that have been selected. So Katana does support a workflow that enables you to do a partial receipt of goods. And those items will then go into inventory and then update your inventory quantities correctly. Lastly, we can mark everything as received on that PO, and all of those items will now flow into stock, and you'll see that your material stock levels will have been updated right here. Going into your buy section, which is a full list of all your POs, you can see all of the purchase orders that are waiting to be received from here. And as those POs are being received, you can mark them as receive some or receive all, and they will then arrive into your material inventory list. This will in turn actually affect the ingredients availability for all of your manufacturing orders, thus giving you the freedom to complete your manufacturing orders as required, marking them as done. And then when those manufacturing orders are completed, raw materials are depleted and product inventory increases, and then those become available specifically for your sales orders, which you can at the same time bulk select, mark them as packed to remove them from inventory, and then bulk select again and mark them as delivered to complete the entire order fulfillment process. So that is a general overview, a full demo of Katana and how it works. There are several other particular functionalities, especially related to our integration features. For example, if you're using Shopify or WooCommerce, we will enable the functionality for you to have a direct link here, which you can click on to shortcut directly to your sales orders. Also, when it comes to our accounting integrations, we will add a new column inside of this sales order list, as well as your purchase order list, where you can then have an immediate quick link to generate an invoice or a bill natively from within Katana's app and have a hard link directly between the two items. So that's about it, and I hope that will help you get started in moving forward with Katana. If you'd like, feel free to leave some comments down below in the comments section. Check out some of our other demos and tutorials, and don't forget to hit the like or subscribe button. That's it from me. Have a great day, and happy manufacturing.